My name is Dan Jarvis. I'm the Director of Welfare and Conservation at British Divers Marine Life Rescue. British Divers Marine Life Rescue is a frontline response charity with trained volunteers called marine mammal medics who can respond to marine mammals in distress around the coastline of the United Kingdom. BDMLR, we operate a national hotline for members of the public to report animals of concern to. We can provide advice over the phone. We can receive photos and videos to help initially assess that animal, and if we believe that animal might need further help, then that hotline coordinator can dispatch trained volunteers to respond and check out that individual to see if anything needs to be done further. We've dealt with animals that have been stranded, as in whales, dolphins and porpoises, and we have managed to successfully rescue those. Personally, back in 2008, we had a mass stranding of common dolphins in the Foul Bay area, and we were part of an enormous response. It was the largest stranding for this species to ever occur in the UK, with over 70, 80 animals involved. The animals that were still alive when they were found, although there were a couple that were in a bad way, needed to be put to sleep, we rescued over 70 animals that day. Some of our biggest issues for seals, adult seals particularly, they are much difficult to handle. They often haul out in places that are inaccessible to us in most parts of the country, so when you have animals that are entangled, it frustratingly leaves us with very little option for our ability to rescue them. If they go in the water, we just cannot safely get to them, and when they're on land, it takes a lot more manpower and equipment to try to safely contain and deal with them, to disentangle them. There's a number of different reasons why marine mammals might need our help from BDMLR. With seals, it tends to be very young animals in the first few days or weeks of their life. They might have been separated prematurely from their mum, whether that's due to rough weather, natural abandonment, or even human disturbance separating them. And those animals might not be able to survive on their own if they're too young and don't have enough fat reserve on them. We also see animals that are victims of storms, increasingly so in recent years due to climate change, increasing the frequency and severity of storms that we experience here, particularly in the UK and Ireland. Might also come ashore due to human activity, whether it be again through human disturbance occasionally, but also underwater noise, causing them to become partially deafened or temporarily deafened. This can interfere with their ability to navigate and communicate, and they can end up stranding for that reason as well. We also see animals stranding for unhealthy reasons, so the other broad category. And again, a bit like seals, this can be animals that are struggling to take care of themselves. They might be separated calves, they could be even elderly animals that are coming to the end of their natural life, in fact, and they're just no longer able to cope. But otherwise it's various kinds of injuries and infections that we might see that are causing a long-term decline in the animal's health and nutritional condition. Volunteer marine mammal medics often have a grab bag of equipment. In terms of a seal, there's usually not a lot of equipment that you need to take with you, so they can usually be dealt with relatively quickly. Outside of getting a volunteer there, it just depends on the location of where that call out is and how close that volunteer is to be able to get there. Sometimes volunteers live right by the beach and they can be there within 5-10 minutes of us getting the call, which is fantastic. But at other times they could be in incredibly remote areas of the country where our nearest volunteer might be 2 hours away. It really just does depend on who's available at that moment in time. For a stranded cetacean, there is only a finite amount of time it can survive on the beach without proper care. When we're talking about dolphins, it could be just a few hours. If it's something larger like a sperm whale, it could be a lot less than that. We can extend that time, so particularly for dolphins, we can easily look after a dolphin out of the water for 12 hours with good care and good support. We're very lucky here in Cornwall that we have a really good relationship with Cornwall Wildlife Trust and their Seaquest Southwest sighting scheme.
I'm James, I'm the project coordinator for Falmouth Marine Conservation's Seaquest and Whale Watch project. The Seaquest project is a citizen science project that aims to record the abundance and distribution of marine megafauna around the southwest coast. Marine megafauna includes things like dolphins, whales, porpoises, seals and any large fish we might see. The data collected by the Seaquest project is really important in informing our knowledge of the distribution and abundance of marine megafauna around the southwest coast. We use it to tell where cetaceans are at different times of year and how many of them there are. Seaquest Southwest is a citizen science project, which means that we rely on the input of ordinary people and members of the public to inform our sightings and build up our data set to a really high standard. That means that anyone can get involved and ordinary people are encouraged to submit their sightings to the Seaquest Southwest project. The data we collect through Seaquest Southwest is really important in forming our understanding of how many cetaceans are in different locations at different times of year. The knowledge we collect allows us to understand peak periods during the year when we have more cetaceans in the area, which makes them more likely to strand. I think it's unlikely that we'll be able to tell when specific animals are to strand, especially from the sightings data we collect. However, understanding how many cetaceans are in an area is really important in forming where we can best deploy people at different times of year. Here in Falmouth, we know that there are many more cetaceans, such as dolphins and porpoises, throughout the winter. They are likely to travel further up the river, and so we can understand that it is at these times of year that there's a higher stranding risk present, and this is something we've been seeing with the number of strandings this year. The data we collect is really helpful to organisations like BDMLR, as we can use it to inform what's in the area at different times of year and what's more likely to strand.
There are occasions where we've had some overlap and we've been able to help each other out, either through their surveyors who are out and about around the coast, spotting an animal that potentially might be in distress, something that might be a concern for us, and we get a bit of an early heads up about that, for instance, and we can be a little bit more prepared in the background just in case something happens. It works the other way as well, so sometimes there are animals that we have refloated and we can ask that Seaquest Southwest network of surveyors and volunteers to keep a lookout for that particular animal for us. So it gives us a bit of feedback on the ones that we are rescuing if they then do get seen, or potentially even get restranded afterwards as well. It's really important to develop these relationships because it can only do more to improve the type of response that we are able to give, and hopefully in the future, we'll find new ways and better ways of working together so that we can support each other more and learn more as well. By merging these two projects together, it's possible that we might be able to improve these animal survival.